Therapy is the act of going to speak with a professional about your concerns. And in a traditional format, that takes place once a week for 50 minutes. There's different terminology for the professionals that conduct the sessions. They can be called counselors, psychotherapists, counseling or clinical psychologists, but in all cases, they work in the same way, which is to alleviate symptoms and difficulties. In my opinion, almost anyone can benefit from seeing a therapist. I speak from experience. One of my proudest achievements is being in therapy since a very young age, and I continue to go, and it helps me in a preventative way. It helps me to unburden myself each week and to be able to gather my thoughts, and I feel has really served me in good stead. For many people, they will reach out and try and find a therapist at their low ebb, which is perfectly understandable, but it's often helpful to have a therapeutic relationship in place before the going gets tough, so that you don't have to work on getting to know a person, because they're already very familiar with your background and circumstances, and they can assist you even better, I feel, with the challenges that you'll face in life. I think that there's so many benefits of going to therapy. So there's the weekly debrief and the time for oneself. It's a really safe and contained space that is confidential and is unlike speaking with a friend or a family member who might not be impartial, who may judge you, or hopefully not. But therapists are designed to really be able to devote that time to hearing your difficulties and to supporting you by asking some very important questions, by making some reflections. And this is really helpful in terms of getting to understand ourselves a little bit better. I often say that we spend so much time working on external projects. We do things for other people and for organizations, but how often do we take the time to sit and think inwards and reflect about our own inner world, how we're feeling, what our thoughts are like, what our behaviors are? And therapy offers this very space to do that. There may be the drawback in therapy of it being an investment of time and cost. So we're deploying resources that we might be able to direct otherwise. So I think it's a question of how much do you value yourself? How much are you willing to give yourself and devote that time and that expense to opening up and to be able to sort through and untangle some of the difficulties? In my, again, humble opinion, it is a deeply rewarding experience, not only for oneself, but it can often have a ripple effect, so that our friends, family, loved ones, colleagues, society even, can be helped by the fact that we may be more resilient, we may be less provoked to anger, we may be calmer in ourselves. So the benefits, in my view, do outweigh the risks, but it is equally important to weigh up for yourself whether you think that therapy is something that you're willing to put the time and the mental energy into. There might be some circumstances in which therapy may not be helpful. They include times when you're not able to access your thoughts. You might be in such a condition. It might be due to substance, it might be to lack of sleep or extreme sort of stress reaction or bereavement, early bereavement, that it might be better to let some time lapse before going into therapy. Equally, when there's resistance and you're feeling very reluctant to therapy and you do not like the idea, or you're encouraged, dare I say, forced by someone else to go into it, it may not be effective either. It's important that there's an element of motivation, because that really can help this flywheel of benefits that take place in the therapy process, without which it's likely in many cases to stall. I think there is still a little bit of stigma left to going to therapy. It is lessened a great deal. When we began in the sort of early 2000s, it was often very something to be ashamed of for a lot of people. They would want their email addresses hidden, or they wouldn't want the reports sent to their home in case their partner found out. Whereas now we find that clients are generally much more at ease with the notion of going to see a professional for support. Indeed, it's always been our view that it's a sign of strength, and I'm so pleased that an increasing number of people are coming around to thinking that way as well. There's been such a wonderful movement in general about people trying to demonstrate the value of being vulnerable, of sharing, of opening up, not hiding the fact that we go through painful events and that we suffer psychological distress, and that the more that this conversation is taking place, the more that helps with reducing the stigma. Trying to find the right therapist is tricky. It really is. I've had that experience. I'm on my fourth therapist. I'm very pleased to say that we've been working together for 14 years now. It isn't straightforward to find someone who is a good fit for you. I think a really good place to start is through asking around and getting a recommendation. For example, if friends or family have been or know of someone who's been to therapy. It's probably a bit too close if your family member has seen that same therapist, having said that. But yes, word of mouth is often very effective. Equally, your GP may be a good source. And we've created a platform as well as the clinics, because we're able to sift through and really select what we consider the finest therapists. And increasingly, there are a good number of resources online that you can find therapists as well. My recommendation is to read up on the reviews, because that often gives you a flavor of what other clients have experienced with that therapist. Perhaps watch a video, read an article that they've written, just to get a bit more of a sense of what they could be like for you as a therapist. Therapy is generally a minimum of 6 sessions, often many more. The more that you go, the more that you benefit. It's almost as if you're going to train a new skill. If you're learning a language, or if you're training in the gym, you're building muscle and you're building skills. And the more that you do it, the more that kind of skill set progresses. Therapy can have it can take very interesting turns over time. So often you might sort of reach a point where you feel that what else could you possibly gain from going to therapy? And new surprises often come up, and new turns. And the beauty, I think, of long-term therapy is that therapeutic relationship, the dynamic that you have with your therapist, continues to evolve and mature and nurture. And that can be such a springboard into improvements in other relationships in your life as well. So if someone's on the fence about going to therapy, I would encourage them to look inward and do an analysis of pros and cons, and to consider whether now might be the right time. If there is some motivation, then that can often be a good clue that you're ready. If you're resistant towards it, maybe wait a little while to get to a place where you're open to the possibility. And one final word of recommendation is to not look at therapy as a magic cure. It isn't the solution to all of your problems. In many cases, it will help you to manage certain conditions and emotions. We don't want to banish anxiety and low mood entirely. This does give color to ourselves, and we can't always be at a high level of emotion and of mood and of energy. Life does take ebbs and flows, and the beauty, I think, of therapy is that it really equips you to be resilient in the face of adversity when it comes, because it does come.